Guys of Reddit, what is your worst meeting the dad moment when dating someone new?
Like and subscribe, or else these'll be in your bed tonight.
The first time I was at my now ex-GF's place. We each took a piece of fruit when she showed me around. When I finished my banana, I went to throw it away downstairs. The garbage can was below the sink. So I bent down. And it made quite some noise when I opened it. From the other side of the room comes an angry hey hey. What do you think you're doing there? As I stand up again I look into an angry dad and stumble up. Just throwing away my banana. Double quote. Then he starts laughing oh. Haha. I thought it was the dog going through the trash. I couldn't see you. They made fun of that for a long time. When you're meeting the dad for the first time, but the dog comes up to you and is super friendly because he already knows you. Awkward. Was invited over to watch Pride and Prejudice with a girl I liked. Why that movie? We were about 19. She stayed with her dad. Met dad and he did typical dad things. Fast forward a few hours and we are in the dark living room on the couch watching the movie. Her legs were on my lap and I was rubbing them when I see a glint to my left by the hallway. Her dad is standing in his boxers holding a big kitchen knife. Everything alright in there, Jen? Yeah dad, she didn't even see him and never believed me when I told her what happened. I'm female. But I have a story that'll fit. Background: my dad is a very blunt man. Sweet as can be and will give you his last penny. But he's got no filter and will not even pretend to like someone if he doesn't. I had dated this guy in my early 20s. Who was a complete dick dash. I was too in love to see it. Or even care tbh. The first time he met my parents. My mom, the ever sweet southern debutante, was nice to him. My dad not so much. Mom and ex we're talking. And mom notices that dad is leaned back in the chair sleeping. She wakes him up. To tell him how rude he's being. My dad said might be rude. But I don't like that boy. Not gonna talk to him. Got nothing to say. Then friggin' went back to sleep. I was mortified. Dad loves my spouse though. Girl's father was in a wheelchair. But was built very well. He obviously lifted as much as he could from his confines. Girlfriend warned me he previously tried to break a guy's hand upon meeting him and shaking his hand. So I went to meet him. He stuck his hand out to shake mine. I didn't hesitate, I shook his hand. He looked at his daughter as if to say if you weren't here, I'd totally snatch his hand off his wrist. Then he started giving me the talk about dating his daughter. He ended it with telling me about his .45 in a shelf. I really wanted to answer with this shelf. Right next to me. But across the room from you? But I decided against it. Apparently while we were out, her parents ransacked her bedroom and found our notes that we had written back and forth. I wrote words like sheet and as. So they forbade her from seeing me again. As a teenage dweeb, I dated this very sweet girl during my senior year of high school for a few months. She finally asked me over to have dinner at her family's house to kinda show the family that we're taking our relationship seriously. I had never met her parents before, nor had I even done a meet the parents before. So I was a little freaked out about how the introduction would go. We head over together to her house that evening and walk into the kitchen. Her mom greets us and seems delighted to meet me. Which puts me in a good mood. Then she runs upstairs to grab her dad, who I can hear moaning and groaning about coming down. I didn't make out all of what they said. But I heard him distinctly say, I'm not introducing myself to a 17-year-old dipit who thinks he can touch my daughter. Oof. Okay. My girlfriend and I awkwardly stand around pretending we're not hearing this stuff. When we hear a fine. And the parents both walk back down the stairs. Her dad totally reluctantly, in this over-the-top way, extends his hand and says Yuri isn't. Literally just as I reach my hand out to say yes. I get a nosebleed. He stands there for a moment, mutters yup and walks straight out the back door to his wood shop, where he stayed for the rest of the night. Duck that over dramatic asshole. I didn't even do anything wrong yet. I'm B but dating a girl at the time. We walked home from watching Finding Dory. She lives about a quarter mile away from the theater, and when we walk in the door, I'm greeted by the man I slept with 2 months earlier. Edit. No, I am not going to write erotica about my sexual exploits. Thanks though. Had a massive poop on hold. We didn't know he was home, so we got in and I dashed to the toilet. 10 minutes later I had destroyed and quarantined the bathroom. When I went out he sees me and comes to greet. I tried to close the door to lock the odor in but I failed. The smell was really bad. I saw his right eye tear up a little. Just now realizing that every girl I've ever dated hasn't had a dad. WTF. I'm in the same boat. First, just a stepdad. Second, dad living in NZ. Third, never met her parent as they didn't approve of me. Current, dad living 350 miles away. African family so the mum basically doubles up as dad and is twice as scary. My girlfriend's stepdad was at work, so we were in her room watching TV on her bed. We weren't hugging, just holding hands sitting next to each other because of the way the bed is sat. I hear him arrive home downstairs. And about 10 minutes later when I least expected it, a man who's a little shorter than me but a lot more bulked out slams open the door, with his arm already extended like a ducking Superman from an old Doctor Who episode, shouting, "Hello Laflux. How are you?" I thought it was some act done to intimidate me and it did make me nervous. After a few months of knowing the guy I know it was out of nervousness. It's not as bad as others here, but the sudden abruptness made me almost sheet myself. I had a Filipino GF in college. Decided to meet the parents. I drove around 3 hours to meet them, and even brought flowers and stuff. When for the first time in their life, they decide to practice a tradition of rejecting the BF 3 times before accepting him. The point is that if you really want their daughter, you'll try as many times as it takes. And since they had never done it before, my GF didn't think about warning me. I was pretty damn annoyed when they tossed my flowers right into the garbage. He was cool, but the fact that I was banging his daughter really seemed to bother him. Understandably. Luckily he liked MMA as well, so we bonded over that. While in high school, a girl and were making full use of the living room since her parents were gone for the day. At one point we're just kinda laying naked on the couch between rounds and we hear the door open, so we throw a big ass blanket over ourselves. In walks her dad, who greeted us. He had heard of me but hadn't met me, and proceeded to watch the movie we had on as background noise with us for another hour, all the while we're just naked under a blanket on the other couch. In 2005 I took a train to Connecticut to meet my college girlfriend's family. She picked me up from the train station, and when we got to the house, I had to pee really bad. Trip from Philly to Hartford was like 4 hours, so I figured I'd run to the potty before I would meet the family. She told me to use the bathroom upstairs, BC they were renovating the downstairs one. Open the door, there's her dad pooping. My high school girlfriend missed a week of school because she had pharyngitis. One day I went over to bring her some stuff from her locker and thought it would be funny to walk in wearing a surgical mask. I stood outside the house tying it around my head when her very tall and stocky father came out and asked me who I was and what I was doing. I told him I was the new BF and thought it would be funny to wear a mask. He wasn't amused and neither was my GF. Jackie, I know you read it. If you're reading this, I still think it was funny. Showed up at her house unexpectedly at 11 PM. He was in bed. Once I was let in by her brother. He went and woke dad up to meet me. 2/10 experience. Don't wake a 250-pound Puerto Rican as a first meeting while dating his youngest daughter. What happened next? I shook his hand. He sleepily shook mine. Asked, in very broken English, why I was visiting his daughter so late. I said I had just arrived in the area and had missed surprising her in the outside world. He instantly woke up when I mentioned meeting her outside his house. She showed up at about that point and we left her father there steaming. Sleepy and surprised. I'm marrying her next year. The dad was an ex-army ranger. He made me do yard work while the girl stayed inside. He started a fire to burn trimmed tree branches and started the "so you like my daughter" speech. That was fun. I really hate that sheet. It's like, bro, your daughter isn't your duck in property. That has to be earned by doing physical labor. WTF.